What's up, you guys? Good morning, good evening, whatever applies to you. Hope you are staying safe. And today is the day that I deliver the last video of my Dopamine Detox video series, where I talk about alternative options for dopamine detox, right? So in this video, I'm going to talk about what are the other options that you have when you say don't have enough time to do a proper dopamine detox, right? This is going to be a clump of a process for you, but I will assure you that you will get most of the benefits that a dopamine detox will provide in the long run, right? The accumulated benefits that I've talked about in the dopamine detox video. So if you haven't checked it out, after this video is over, go check it out. And today we are going to talk about pleasurable activity restriction days, dopamine restriction windows, daily activity restriction rotations, and weekly activity restriction rotations. By the way, these sound super weird. I'm very well aware of that. These subtopics sound super weird, but you can get a lot of benefits out of these. And these are just made up terms that I came up with, right? So once I explain these processes to you, you will understand what I mean by that, right? So the meaning is what makes this important, right? So don't get too hooked up with the subtopics that I have here. So pay attention to this. Sit back and pay attention to this video, because I'm gonna discuss all this in detail. So we are gonna talk about the first subtopic of the day, which is pleasurable activity restriction days. First of all, don't get this confused with the baby step approach that I covered not too long ago, right? In this particular subtopic, what I refer to is something that you can do when you kicked pornography cold turkey, right? You kick pornography cold turkey. Pornography does not exist in your life anymore. So now let's say you sustain like a month or so, and everything seems rather smooth. So you are good to step on the gas a little bit, right? So when you are good to step on the gas, this is one thing that you can implement in your life. What do I mean by pleasurable activity restriction days? Here's what I mean, right? You take whatever pleasurable activity you like, right? Whatever you prefer, and you kick that out of your life for that day, right? Let's say computer gaming or whatever the case is, right? Be it computer gaming, be it drinking, be it whatever else. Here's what you do. Here's how you choose it, and here's how you determine how good that is. First of all, the activity has to be something that provides you only instant gratification, nothing else, right? Nothing in the long run, nothing like that. Just instant gratification. So that's one. And two, the least frequently done activity, like the lesser frequently you do that activity in your regular week in week out routine, the better. What do I mean by that? Let's take an example, right? There's one activity, let's say activity A and activity B. Activity A, you do only twice a week, right? On a regular week. Prior to implementing this, you do that twice a week. And activity B, you do that 3 times a week, right? If you kick one day out of activity A, that would be much better than kicking one day out of activity B, right? This is 50% of that happening, that activity, right? This is 50% of the volume. And in this case, if you kicked out one day, it's only 33.33333, something like that percent. So this is better in that case, assuming you get the same amount of pleasure from doing A and doing B on a single day, right? So in that case, kicking A, a day of A would be a much better option than kicking a day of B, right? So this is something you can implement in your life, and play around with it. Let's say you have, like, you chose 3 different activities, right? A, B and C. Let's just say A, B and C for the sake of explaining this, right? So activity A you do 2 days a week, activity B you do 3 days a week, and activity C you do 4 days a week, right? Real original, I know. So if you kick out 1 day of A, 1 day of B, and 2 days out of C, that's doable. That is doable. And again, I want to mention this because this is super important. Don't ever overlap your pleasurable activities. Do one pleasurable activity at a time. If you want to do pleasurable activities, do one at a time. Do not overlap that, because once you overlap one, let's say you do activity A, your dopamine spike is right here. This is baseline and spike is right here. And you do activity B simultaneously. So it adds up to that spike, and your brain will rewire for this amount of spike, right? Not this, this whole thing. So it's important for you to not overlap your pleasurable activities that way. Moving on to the second subtopic, which is dopamine restriction windows, right? In my personal experience, this out of the 4 things that we are talking about today, this worked the best for me. But to be fair, I use that as a way of elongating the benefits of a proper dopamine detox. So for me it was more like a way of me keeping that diminishing part of the dopamine detox from happening for longer. Basically, keeping up with the benefits of the dopamine detox for longer. That's what I use this for. But if you utilize that properly, you can make this sort of a mini dopamine detox kind of thing. It's like it's like a whole pizza and a pizza slice, right? Let's say a whole pizza is the big deal, right? The proper dopamine detox, and the pizza slice is this protocol right here, dopamine restriction window. So there's a couple of things you can do in this, but if I were to be pinpointing one thing that you should do is to have a daily restriction window, right? Regular restriction window. Every day from time A to time B or time X to time Y, you are not going to use anything. Like, you are going to restrict your pleasurable activities completely, right? So, and ideally do it in the Bill Rancho style, so to speak. So I mean, I've done a video of my favorite pick when it comes to dopamine detox. I believe it was 3 weeks ago. So if you haven't watched that, go watch it, and you will have a better idea about what I'm talking about. So this window, at least it has to be 2 hours long, right? I mean, that's not all that challenging. So if that's not challenging at all for you, make it 3 hours. If that's not challenging enough for you, make it 4 hours. The longer windows you do, the better, right? It has to be at least 2 hours long, in my opinion, right? That's my recommendation, my personal recommendation. And let's say you start at 7 a.m., right? And you did a 3 hour window. Every day, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. is your default window, daily default window, right? So it goes from Monday all the way to Friday, all the way to Sunday, right? That goes on all the way to Sunday. And you can do one other thing is that's to add an add-on window, right? Let's say you do 10 windows a week, right? You have these 7 windows, your default windows, and Monday, Thursday and Saturday you have add-on windows in the evening, right? In the evening you have add-on windows on those 3 days. Let's say 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Just a random number. It doesn't matter all that much, right? So you can do that and play around with it. You can increase the frequency, you can increase the time, you can increase the number of videos, number of windows, not videos. You can play around with that and find out the sweet spot of that, right? So that's what I want to talk about in dopamine restriction windows. And the third subtopic of the day, which is daily activity restriction rotations, right? This is a little bit of a fun one, right? What this basically means, like I said, these are just titles that I pulled out of my rectum. So that doesn't mean much, right? So daily activity restriction rotations, what this basically means is that you pick a couple of different activities that you do throughout the week that provide you nothing but instant gratification. It can be 3 activities, 4 activities, 5 activities, 7 activities, 10 activities, whatever the case might be. Let's say you picked 7 activities, right, throughout the week. 1 activity for each day, right? So activity A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Let's say A to G activities. So you put them, A for Monday and B for Tuesday, so on and so forth, right? All the way up to G, which is on Sunday. And for that day, let's say the first day, which is Monday, you don't do A. Tuesday you don't do B. Wednesday you don't do C, so on and so forth. And in this case, the only rule that you should be following is that the activity you allocate for a specific day should be an activity you would normally do on that day, right? Let's say you drink, you put drinking on Sunday, right? I mean, you don't have to go to work on Monday, so the chances of you drinking on Sunday is not that great, it's almost non-existent. So what's the point of putting it on Sunday, right? I would rather put it on Friday rather than Sunday because there's more probability for you to drink. So you get the point, yeah. You get the point of allocating those things and basically rinse and repeat the whole process. You can do that to any number of activities. Just allocate one for each day. Moving on to the last subtopic of the day, which is weekly activity restriction rotations. This is sort of a hybrid between the first one and the third one, right? What do I mean by that? You are following the restriction pattern of the first one, but instead of restricting that for 1 or 2 days, you are restricting that for a whole week, right? And one suggestion I can give you in this case is to make a list of pleasurable activities, right? Let's say 10 activities, the most pleasurable to the least pleasurable. And on the first week, you're gonna cut the bottom one, right? Then the second week, you are gonna reincorporate that and cut the one above that, and you are gonna work your way up to the top, right? Week by week, you're gonna work your way up to the top. And once that's done, and when you feel ready, when you feel like spicing things up, you can do combos. Like, for instance, you climb to the top, right? So this is one example. You can keep it there for another week. Let's say you cut the first one, you cut the last one and you work your way up to the top, and you cut the first one for a week, right? You cut the first one for a week, and then you can keep it there, keep that restriction that way, and add on another activity, and make it 2 activities. Just make it fun. Like, you can keep this here and keep it that way, and also add this one on top, or something in the middle on top. Just have fun with it. Just do not view that as a chore, right? I mean, when you cut one thing, you have 9 left, right? So it's not gonna be a big of a deal. It's not gonna be as much of a deal as you think it would. But when you cut one thing, you're gonna have to put a cap on all the other things, right? You're gonna have to restrict all the other things. You just cut one and you're gonna have to restrict other things and put a cap on it. You know, this is the maximum time that I'm gonna spend on these things. The idea is to let your brain heal instead of just, you know, playing musical chair among addictions. So that's the idea. And now we can talk about an example, right? An example routine, a weekly routine also, that you can deploy all these things that we talked about throughout this series, just so you will have a like compressed kind of idea of how that's gonna go. You know, how a protocol where you deploy all these things look like. This is the example routine, like, you know, this is the example routine that I want to discuss with you about, right? So let me explain all this, right? So per week, in this example, per week you're gonna include 2 dopamine detox days, right? So the days would be Wednesday and Saturday. You know, the days can be whatever, and you know, the number of days can be 1, it can be 3, you know, doesn't matter. As long as you incorporate some of these things, you know, as many as possible, you're gonna see results in the long run, right? So if you can't do one thing, you know, if you can do 1 or 2 things in these lists, don't worry about it too much and do what you can do, right? So in this example, full on dopamine detox days, there are 2 detox days, Wednesday and Saturday, right? So the dopamine restriction windows, as far as the restriction windows go, there's 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on non-detox days. So apart from Wednesday and Saturday, there's 5 more days in the week, right? So you're going to include these windows in those 5 days, right? Again, if you haven't watched my favorite way to dopamine detox, you can, you know, check that out as well. That's in this same playlist, in the same playlist that this is gonna be in. So 7:30 to 10:30 on non-detox days, right? That's your default dopamine detox window. And also, as an add-on, you can do something like this, you know, 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, Friday and Sunday. So you're gonna have like 5 of these and 3 of these, so 8 windows, right? 8 like mini detoxes on top of the like full-on detox experience that you are gonna experience on Wednesday and Saturday. And moving on to the third option, which is daily activity restriction rotations. I'm gonna take only 3 activities just to, you know, just to explain this to you. There's no big deal, right? So no music on Monday and Friday. The activities that I'm gonna take is music, movies and video games. Just an example again, you know, just 3 examples just I pull out of my rectum. So doesn't matter what the examples are. This is just a discussion that I'm gonna have as far as the methods go, right? So no music on Monday and Friday, no movies on Tuesday and Sunday, right? And no video games on Thursday. So you're gonna have, you know, you're gonna have that in your weekly routine as well, right? Per week, and per week you're gonna restrict these 3 or as many activities as you would like. You know, you don't have to include all those things in your routine. Again, you can include some of these things and, you know, leverage on those things a little better, right? This is just again an example. So this is the daily activity restriction rotations part. And as far as the weekly activity restriction rotations part go, I again take 3 activities just for the sake of explaining this. You know, the activities don't matter nearly as much. This is just an explanation. This is just an example that I do. Week 1, there's no junk food, right? Week 2, no alcohol. Week 3, no podcasts. And week 4, you can do a little bit of a combination between junk food and alcohol. Right? Again, this is an example. If you are not ready to do that by week 4, then you can just rinse and repeat these 3 a couple more times until you feel ready. Right? Don't make it miserable. That's what I'm trying to say. No junk food and alcohol on week 4. Week 5, no alcohol and podcasts. And when you move towards week 6, in this particular example, you're going to cut off all these 3. Right? Again, if you don't feel ready, in that case, you can always rinse and repeat these things a couple more times, just so you feel more ready to step it up a little bit. Now, hopefully you will see how many of these things can be shoved into 1 week if you are mindful with it. 1 week or 1 month, really. If you are mindful with it. Again, you don't have to include all these things. You can just include 1 thing and run with it, and perfect that. That will deliver you a lot of benefits in the long run. So this is all about the long run, right? With all that being said, with all that being reminded, I'm gonna end this video right here, and always my the links to my social media will be down below. And until next time, I'm high value guy, and may the triple gem bless you.